I remember the first time I watched Sphere. I was 8 years old, and for a long time I couldn't understand what this object really was. Was it alive or not? Who created it? Why a sphere? What happened on the spacecraft that discovered it in space? Years later, I kept searching for answers. I even started reading Michael Crichton's Sphere, hoping it would explain everything, but in the end, it only gave me even more questions than answers. Not a single review I came across actually tried to explain what the sphere really is. And for me, that's the most interesting question, because everything else happening in the film is more or less clear. If you look at the object from another angle, from a scientific point of view, it seems to follow the basic laws of physics, yet at the same time, it breaks the law of conservation of energy. Nothing comes from nothing, and energy doesn't just flow from cold to hot. So how is the sphere able to materialize human thoughts? How does it create giant squids, jellyfish, books, even a black hole? It uses fear and the subconscious. And to me, that's the perfect defense mechanism. If I were the creator of the sphere and I didn't want it to be used as a weapon against me or to fall into the hands of a civilization that isn't ready to use it, then no one would be able to use it without harming themselves or causing destruction. And that's exactly what Harry Adams realizes at the end of the film.
Because we have the power to forget. No, I'm sure.
They had no choice but to try to forget about the sphere. And it worked. It was the only right wish they made. Humanity simply isn't ready for that kind of power.
We weren't ready, no.
It would have been used for selfish purposes, and that's exactly what led to the tragedy on the spacecraft and at the underwater station. So what is the sphere, really? Could it be a living entity? Or some kind of super intelligent object capable of creating anything you can imagine? A piece of God, you could say. Let's try to figure this out together. My name is Evgeny. Let's go through all the theories, connect the science with the film, and try to unravel the mystery of this alien object. So let's start with the first question. Why a sphere? Why not some other geometric shape? There are several scientific explanations for this, all connected to the nature of three-dimensional space. As an example, let's look at the sci-fi film Interstellar, and how Cooper is shown explaining why a wormhole can't appear as a flat, circular portal the way we usually imagine it.
It's a sphere. Well, yes, of course, that's right. And did you think it would just be a hole? Let's imagine you want to travel from this point right over to this one. A wormhole actually bends space itself, allowing you to cut a path through a different dimension. To demonstrate this, they replaced three-dimensional space with a two-dimensional plane. And in 2 dimensions, a wormhole transforms into a perfect circle. And what exactly is a circle when it's in three-dimensional space?
The sphere.
Precisely.
But we also know that the sphere isn't a portal. In both the book and the film, it's described as a liquid metallic object, golden in color, with a surface that resembles the structure of Mercury.
Yeah, it appears to be Mercury, doesn't it?
The key word here is liquid. A liquid always tends to minimize its surface area. That's the law of surface tension. And a sphere has the smallest possible surface area for a given volume. So naturally, a liquid will take on a spherical shape, following the principle of minimum potential energy, specifically surface energy. From a scientific point of view, a sphere could absolutely be a natural form. There are many theories about objects or phenomena that distort space and time, like a wormhole, or destroy matter, like a black hole. So logically, there could also be an object capable of doing the opposite, creating matter without relying on energy. And that's exactly what we see in the film. The creation of things using nothing but human thoughts and imagination. A giant squid or massive jellyfish. On one hand, this suggests that the sphere wasn't created by someone or something. But there's one but. The first is the reflection anomaly.
Worries me is that it's reflecting everything but us.
And the second is the requirement of contact with an intelligent life form. So as we remember, the sphere reflects everything except people, and that leads Harry to believe that it's alive, that there's something inside it.
It's alive. There's something inside it. The sphere chooses what it will and won't reflect. Doesn't that seem like the actions of a conscious being to you?
Later, he realizes that it's actually empty.
Nothing in the sphere, Beth. You know that. You've been inside.
There's nothing inside it. It isn't a living being. But is that really true? We can see that the sphere has two light reflections. But where do they come from? On the ship, the only source of light is the scientific expedition itself. And the sphere doesn't reflect them. It is the light source, no matter the angle. From a computer monitor, from above, even from behind, the sphere always looks exactly the same, always identical. It doesn't seem to reflect anything at all. But when Norman, Beth, and Harry try to get rid of their memories and the sphere itself, there's a moment where it suddenly behaves like a mirror. And in space, it reflects our planet. The second point is the need for direct contact. All three members of the team who were able to create things using their thoughts, their fears, their subconscious, had one thing in common. They had been inside the sphere. The others, who never made contact with it, showed no such abilities, which means the sphere itself can't really do anything on its own. It simply gives people the ability to materialize their fantasies and their nightmares. And from this, it becomes clear it was created. You could assume that an extraterrestrial civilization managed to build an object that reflects something like the power of a god. But to use this artifact, contact is required. A contact with an intelligent life form, one that the sphere does not reflect. As Beth once said,
"This ball wants to be caught."
It's programmed to do exactly that, the pinnacle of scientific progress, created by a super advanced race. It can do anything you can imagine, anything the human mind is capable of conceiving. A time machine, a portal, a weapon, or salvation. The second question that comes up while watching the film is what happened on the spacecraft that discovered the sphere? How did it end up inside a black hole? And how did it get to Earth in the first place? The answer is actually quite simple, and it's right there in the film. The expedition came across an extraterrestrial object. Of course, they had no idea what the sphere was capable of. Once they made contact with it, their fears and desires began to take shape. Someone was afraid of encountering a black hole in deep space, so the sphere brought that fear to life. It's hard to believe that a spacecraft just accidentally fell into a black hole. A more logical explanation is that the sphere created it. The second question is, how did they end up on Earth? Most likely, after the chaos on the spacecraft, one of the crew members who had contact with the object wished to return to Earth. So this wasn't fear, it was a genuine desire. The same kind of desire that Norman, Beth, and Harry make at the end of the film. The only thing I still don't fully understand is why they returned to the past. And here, I could use your help. If you have any thoughts on this, make sure to share them in the comments. Sphere was released in 1998. The film had a budget of around $80 million, but its box office in the US didn't even reach $38 million. Because of that, the studio pulled back from giving it a wide release. The film was considered a complete failure at the time, but years later, it found its audience. And today, it's often seen as a cult classic within its genre. It followed a similar path to films like The Thing, Event Horizon, and The Abyss. Only years later did audiences truly begin to appreciate these films. There aren't that many major differences between the book and the movie. In the novel, there were 4 main characters. There was also a marine biologist, but during production, the character was removed as the studio felt there wouldn't be enough screen time to properly develop his story. In 2009, screenwriter Ronald D. Moore expressed interest in writing a prequel, where he wanted to show the events on the spacecraft, how they found the sphere, and what happened to them. The studio turned down the idea, but gave him a chance to prove himself with the prequel to The Thing. They said that if it performed well at the box office, they would consider moving forward with Sphere 2. But we all know how things turned out with The Thing, so a continuation is unlikely at this point. By the way, I actually made a breakdown of The Thing, where I tried to prove that Childs was assimilated, and even pinpointed the exact moment when the keys to the blood sample cabinet were lost. You'll find the full breakdown through the link in the video description. Either way, I believe Sphere is an underrated film, and it's a shame that even after all these years, we're still left with so many questions. But I hope I was able to give you at least some answers. Have you ever wondered what's really hidden behind the scenes of your favorite films? We are a content research lab, and our mission is to find answers where others see only end credits. On our channel, you'll find deep dives into the most intriguing cinematic universes. And one of our main focuses is a complete breakdown of the lore of Alien, the mystery of the engineers, and the origin of the xenomorph. We piece together, bit by bit, the story behind the most perfect organism in the universe. Who is truly behind this biological weapon? What secrets from Prometheus were left untold? We analyze every stage of its evolution, from the Black Goo to the Queen, the Weyland-Yutani Corporation. We dig into the archives of the most dangerous company in cinema. What is the real purpose of their special order? And what price does humanity pay for their ambition? But that's not all. In our archives, you'll also find The Dark Secret of the Ninth Gate, a detail audiences missed for 25 years, the true face of Jumanji. Where did the cursed game really come from, and what is its primal logic? The real past of Hancock. Who is he? A hero, a god, or something else? We break down the hidden motives and the details of the cancelled sequel. On this channel, we value cinematic aesthetics and accuracy in every detail. If you enjoy high-quality breakdowns, theories, and visual storytelling that keeps you hooked, you're in the right place. Join our community, subscribe, and let's explore the depths of cinema together.